Hello everyone, my name is Kenney from ZK Painting, and this is episode 24 of ZK Live. It's going to be another Sunday night episode with just me answering questions. We have a lot of questions that have been sent in this week. Everything from my secret to selling the perfect paint job and how we're able to get what it costs to do the kind of work that we do. Some more technical questions, and then any other questions that you guys end up having. Please put them up. Hope everybody had a great week. It's pretty hot here in Rhode Island. Our guys worked, two of our guys worked Saturday, trying to get ahead. We have a whole house masked up. I posted about it today. A lot of masking. A lot of it is waterproof with the exterior 3M, but some of it's not. So we were trying to just like work as much as we could while it's all masked off. So if everything goes well, tomorrow I'm going to be spraying the final coat of black Eco Satin on all that trim, which is going to be, there's a 75% chance it all goes well. That's a really difficult application. It's a difficult place to spray. If you see those pictures, we have to do that stuff from a ladder. And trying to keep a wet edge and an even consistent pattern while you're spraying a 20-foot tall vertical piece of trim board, where you can't do it all from one ladder move, and you have to spray halfway down, get off the ladder, go to a step ladder and spray halfway up and meet in the middle, and you have to do multiple passes of that. So where your overlap is, it gets to be pretty difficult. And it's always, as with all spraying, there's a fine line. You're trying to put as much paint on as you can so it lays out nice and smooth, but not so much that you get drips. So it's going to be weather dependent. We have a couple additives that we can use. General Finishes makes a accelerator. It makes water-based paint dry faster. I would imagine most of you have not seen that product. It's fairly rare that it's ever used, but it comes in handy with if the weather. So say in the morning when we're spraying, I may add a little bit of accelerator in just to make it dry quicker. And then in the afternoon, if we ever do end up in direct sun, which we're going to work really hard not to spray in direct sunlight, if we do spray in direct sunlight, we'll be adding General Finishes extender that will extend the dry time and help things lay out a little bit. But that can be dangerous with drips, so we have to be careful. Spraying black, anytime you're spraying black exterior, it's tough. Spraying black in general, black just shows everything. And that we were brought onto this project because they want it perfect. It's a very modern home. They want everything clean and sharp and crisp. So part of that is a super smooth, uniform paint job. And that's not easy to achieve. We sure can't do it with a brush and roller. It has to be done with a sprayer. And the stakes are just pretty high when you're spraying black Eco Satin, especially Eco. It's a tough product to spray. Tonight's episode, I forget who was telling me about it. I hope they're on tonight. But I have my Topo Chico Twist of Lime seltzer in a glass bottle. It's Sarah loves it. It's not my favorite, but it's good. But it doesn't hold a candle to a couple of my favorite LaCroix. But yeah, so that job. She said, so good. Yeah, drinking out of a glass bottle is always nice too. But that project is definitely, it's much more difficult to be doing this project when the clients are living there and all the hardscape is done and landscaping, and it's a finished home that we're trying to spray a bunch of trim on, and only trim. So it's not without its battles. Many hours were spent masking this place off to spray that little bit of black trim that you may have seen if you saw the post. And if you haven't seen it, you should go check out that post. It doesn't seem like it's that big a deal. And when, honestly, if the bar is not as high as the bar is for us on this project, it isn't that big of a deal. You just like spray some paint on and move on. But we're looking to achieve like our door gloss finish, but in a satin on a house worth of trim. And so that adds a layer to it, combined with the fact that like we started with cement board, and we did the carpentry ourselves, and we're trying to make the cement board look like smooth metal panels. So that takes a lot of work. But mostly, I think if this home allowed us, like if this was in a new construction setting, which we're going to be doing another one for this builder when it's new construction, working off of a lift would be so much easier to do this project. We would be able to move up and down and access things perfectly, and it's just that much easier to spray an even coat of paint, which is what we need when we're talking about the high level finish that we're trying to achieve. So that's exciting. I have a crazy day tomorrow. Managing the company is and all of the moving pieces is definitely the most stressful, but it is my job. That's what my job is to do all that stuff. So tomorrow you have all these people who are pulling on you in different directions and all these balls in the air, and some of them are about to drop and you have to catch them first, and it's this constant juggling. And tomorrow, again, you always say I never want to have these tough timelines, but a lot of the times stuff comes up. So we have those 2 entry doors for the black garage door project that we took. And that ended up taking longer than we wanted to. That we had some issues with the old coating, and ended up having to strip those doors when we didn't plan to. So they're behind schedule. So the client's like, we haven't had our doors in 4 weeks. Can we have our front doors? And I told them, like, they were done. Now I wish I delivered them Friday, but they hadn't had time to really dry, like really dry. They had 2 days of drying maybe. And we prefer with the oil to have it dry for 5 to 6 days before we deliver and install 8-foot tall solid mahogany doors. So tomorrow I have to get to Boston. I have to spray that, trim out, but we can't do that first thing in the morning. We have to do some sanding, and we have to probably wait till the dew evaporates off the surface and we get better conditions. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing that, working with the guys, spraying out. Arturo just kind of, I was like going over everything with Arturo, and he kind of at the end was just like, do you want to come spray these on Monday? I was like, all right, yeah, I can come do that. If Arturo's saying that, like it's a really difficult spray job. So if he's asking me to do it, I'm gonna come do it. It's definitely gonna be an interesting project, and like I said, I have a 75% confidence rate that it will go well. There's 25% chance that we'll be applying another coat, at least in certain sections, and I'm on board for that. I'm ready for that mentally. We're gonna do everything we can to not have that happen, but we're talking about super high level stuff here, and if it needs to be done again, we'll do it again. But so after that, so the trailer is on site there because it's acting as the trailer was originally designed to work as a storage facility, and it's storing everything. I will get to that level 10. He wants to know about the new Wagner sprayer. So the trailer is on site in Newton, where I need to go. I need to go up, spray all that stuff. I need to take the trailer back all the way down to my shop, which is fairly far south in Rhode Island. That's a probably hour and 20-minute drive with no traffic. So, and then I have to load up. Then I have to unload it because it's fairly loaded up. We're gonna have to unload that trailer, and then load it up with the 2 massive doors. And then I'm gonna have to go back north again to Lincoln, Rhode Island, which is like 40 minutes north. And Dan and I are going to end up installing 2, 8. I think they're 8 or 9 foot tall solid. I mean, those doors are big. And I told her expect us at 5-6 o'clock p.m. By the time my day, if everything goes well, I'll be there by 3. But I'm not planning on it, so there's a lot of unknowns tomorrow. One thing that has to happen is I have to deliver those doors, and it may be really inefficient and it may be a huge pain in my butt, but it'll get done. And then the other thing that has to happen is on Tuesday, I have to be I have to have a couple people back on the new construction job site, which means I'm going to be leaving that Newton project for a few days again. Don't want to have to do that, but there is serious time pressure on the new construction. Clients don't have a place to stay. They sold their house too soon, so they're literally like homeless until they can move into this house. So there's a lot of pressure on us there. And luckily the client in Newton is being, they're very understanding. They're amazing clients. They're dream clients. They're what I built my company to serve. Like, they're perfect for what we do. And we love them. And one of the reasons we love them is they're a little bit flexible. So we're doing everything we can. We worked on Saturday, but if I have to pull off on Tuesday and go to this new construction for the rest of the week, they'll be okay with it. And they know that I'm trying really hard not to, but that may happen. If we have to spray another coat, that just might happen, and that sucks. And I really don't want to have it happen, but I can only do what I can do, and I have to just like let the rest go and just keep making the best decision I can and trying to have some contingencies in place. Managing all of these things pulling in you is a lot, especially at the level that we're at. We're expected to be perfect in many instances, and that can be tough. I'm not gonna lie, it's definitely stressing me out a bit tonight, thinking about how am I gonna make this week go the way that we need it to go. There's a lot. Now, luckily, the Beacon Hill project is going super smoothly, knock on wood. It couldn't be going any better. Like, the GC is unbelievable. The project is just like super exciting. We've been like training in the gym forever for this project. Like, this is what my company was designed to do. So that's really working out in my favor, is all of the hard work and all the sacrifices that I've made for the last however many years has got us to the point where now we are doing 3 gloss rooms, the gloss island, and 5 floors of handrails, and it's kind of going like clockwork. Like, most of the team has done this before. Well, I shouldn't say that. Half the team has done this before. The other half is being coached up by the team that has, and we're set up for success by this GC. It's very nice, and the client has been amazing. Part of the deal is like we get the place to ourselves, and so we have a bunch of skim coating done on walls and ceilings. We have primer on. The final coat of primer, I believe, will go on tomorrow, or should start tomorrow, on all the handrails. So that's exciting. The handrails have come a long way from when we first started. A long way. My God. I was there this weekend, and they're so smooth. And when we started, they were beat up. Slater Painting said, take one task at a time and execute. Yeah, that's the name of the game. It's like triage. I feel like that's what I'm always doing, is triaging. Like, what is most important? What needs to get done? There's that quadrant, those 4 quadrants of like what needs to get done now and later, and what, I forget how they break it down, but there's one quadrant where you just ignore it. Later and not important, like, you ignore, and then you focus on the other 3. But yeah, that's sort of my week, is going to be juggling a lot of things. But luckily, that project is something that's not taking a lot of my time, because Phil and Hollis and Patty and Jason are on top of it. Phil is managing the project well. We have a great game plan, and we've practiced. Like, we've done this stuff before. Phil started when we did our first gloss room. He was in at the very end of our first gloss room. We've also talked about doing this. We planned on doing this a lot. He's done aspects of this process before with us. So Phil is very comfortable, and Hollis as well, with like sort of what the process is. And then Patty and Jason are owning the handrail, and they've done an amazing job at making a plan and then executing the plan on the handrail. If you guys saw Patty's post I made a post about the handrails, and I mistakenly said 4 flights of handrails, and she corrected me and said 5, and I was like, I apologize, I'll fix that. And then she made a post that showed how many flights of stairs she had gone up and down, and how many steps she had done. And if you guys haven't seen that post, Patty_ZK Painting, you should check it out. It was pretty interesting. I think she was 13,000 steps and 49 flights of stairs that day on Friday. So the staircase is being taken care of well by Patty and Jason. Jason's getting a lot of opportunity to brush oil very early on as an apprentice, which is I would have been so happy. That's what we try to tell them. Like, you guys have to understand, like, this is like the holy grail of paint jobs in the high end. Like, Jason is like 3 months into being an apprentice with us, coming with very little experience, and he's working on like what is my dream job and has been for a long time, to be able to do gloss rooms and handrails like this. Like, it's just so cool that he gets to start this early on, masking and prepping and brushing out oil primer. He probably won't be brushing final coat, or he might. Like, maybe we'll let him do the underneath of the handrails. He'll be probably working with Patty still, and you know, it's very exciting to see talented young people who are motivated pick things up fast. I saw Mickey the painter posting about his apprenticeship and painters and stuff yesterday, and just talking about how most people take X number of years to get there, and he took almost half that. And you know, because he's like, I was born to be a painter. And I think that there is something to be said for that. Like, he was making the analogy between athletes, and some athletes are just born to be good, and some people struggle and have to work harder to get good. And Jason is definitely someone who's got the motivation and the intelligence and the aptitude to pick stuff up quick. So we're really lucky. I'm really grateful that that's taken care of. This new construction job is a huge pain in my butt, but it'll be over this week, hopefully. So, but it's just finding space, and we had to let go of one of our apprentices, Steven, this week. He just wasn't all in. Had some issues showing up to work on time. He had the straw that broke the camel's back was a no-call, no-show. And it was clear that he wanted to be into it, but he just wasn't, for whatever reason. You know, outside of work, life can get in the way. But we're not here. I felt bad for him that things were getting in the way, but we need people who are going to show up and be 100% and be dedicated and perform. So we're down to 7 painters now. We're definitely looking to hire somebody. Probably, I would love to hire a skilled painter, and I've reached out to a couple people, and I'm going to be posting again on Indeed. But we would like to have another skilled painter who fits the ZK mold and the team that we have going. But we'll see how that goes. Again, everybody, please put your questions down here. I'll start. So that's sort of the wrap up of what's going on. Very excited. Actually, the thing I'm so excited about this that I purposely, I think, just like put it in the back. I've learned as I get older, I've learned to, like, the things that I'm really excited about, I try to just like do whatever I have to do to make them happen, and then just like be patient. And the best way for me to be patient is to just not think about them at all, and just sort of, it's like you planted the seed, you water it all the time, but you don't ever look back to see when is it going to grow. Better than like watching to see like, oh, is it sprouted? Like, that will drive me nuts. So now I just like, we have the spray booth coming, so, or the booth upgrade. So I have a makeup air unit that's being delivered with there's a 3-foot extension to the booth and some really fancy doors to the booth, airtight doors to the booth, and a swamp cooler. So we'll be able to filter and blow in filter and conditioned air into the booth instead of passively sucking it into the booth, which is incredibly exciting. It's a huge investment. It's been months and months and months in the making of wanting to do it, saving up the money to do it. ordering it and now waiting forever, and then it was like stuck because of a storm in Pennsylvania and blah blah blah. But the plan is, as far as I know, tomorrow a tractor trailer is going to be delivering 2 massive pallets, and Dan's going to be unloading those with a forklift. And the team from RGI Spray Booths is going to be coming in, and they're going to disassemble our doors on the back of our booth. They're going to add 3 feet to the booth. They're going to put a new door on. They're going to put a massive air makeup unit on above the booth, as well as a swamp cooler on the roof. So we will have extreme capacity for high quality finishes when this is all said and done. But until it happens, it doesn't feel real. I just keep thinking like, yeah, I know that's going to happen, but it just doesn't quite feel real yet. When it all happens and we can turn on, we can set a bake cycle. So we can turn the spray booth on. It's going to be filtering air, blowing it in, sucking air out. And when we finish, we can then turn on a bake cycle, and it will turn the booth to, I believe, 140 or 180 degrees. I forget which one we got, in 10 seconds, and then just keep it at temperature. And it will bake whatever finishes on those surfaces super quick, which couldn't be more excited about for a number of reasons, for dust and for production speed. So that's coming Monday, but we'll see. So let's get into some of the questions that we had brought up, that people had brought up. Is Vince Maeda here? Vince asked 3 questions, which was cool. Lauren Grant, is she here? Let's see if any of these people are here. I don't see them. That's okay. So Vince, you guys all know you can watch this on YouTube and listen to them on Apple, iTunes, the ZK Live podcast, and on Spotify podcasts. But let's start with Vince had like 3 questions, all sort of related to the gloss project. Let me figure out which one to go through first. So let's see. He asked a question. Vince asked a question. How do you sell a full skim job after their tapers just finished and it's quote unquote already perfect? I'm gonna answer all these at once because they're all sort of in the same vein. Vince also asks, what is the secret to selling a perfect paint job? I tried many times and always getting a no. And then he also said, what did it take, or how did you sell that beautiful black gloss project? Okay, so I think there's a few things. First of all, I have like a reputation. I've built a reputation and I've built a body of work. I would say, like, the first thing is, like, you have to have one of those quote unquote perfect projects in your portfolio already to make it easier. So how do you get a project in your portfolio? It's sort of a catch-22. You need to have those projects in your portfolio to sell them, but how do you get your first one? That's the hardest part. And I can tell you what I did. And what I did was I took a huge risk and a gamble and a sacrifice, and I what I would call upgraded clients. So a project would come in and they would want X, and I would say, hey, I really want an opportunity to take what you want and go one level farther. It would usually cost you significantly more, but I'm willing to eat that cost if you're willing to give me 2 things: the ability to market this later and a freedom of timeline. Because I'm openly saying I'm doing something for the first time. So I don't even think doing it for cost is always going to work. That's still tough enough to some people. I think I'm willing to maybe do it for cost, or even just take it on the chin, depending on the scope. And, you make calculated decisions. You don't give a Lamborghini paint job to a crappy house in a crappy neighborhood to crappy clients. Like, that's not going to help. So you have to be strategic as to who you do it to. But my entire career started out painting for anyone who would pay, pay me in some sketchy neighborhoods and for some not sketchy people, but like just nothing like what I do today. And it was just over deliver. And then when you over delivered and you have that work in your portfolio and you can look and say, so the next time when I go to sell a gloss project to this client today, I can go, see, here are the other gloss projects that I've done that are like this. Now I can command, I know the price that I can charge. I know first of all, I can say I know how much it costs. And you can go, I can also say, this is what it will look like. I have done this before. If you've never done it before and you don't have it in your portfolio and you go to a client and you're like, hey, I know you want your front door painted, but I was thinking we could do Fine Paints of Europe, like perfect gloss door, and it only costs you $4,000. And they're like, you can't even show me one that you've done. Where did you get this $4,000 number? And, it's just going to be really, really difficult to sell that project. So what I did was I took someone who, we had a big exterior that we were doing, my first gloss door. I was part of a big exterior, and I said, can I just upgrade you a little bit? I probably charged them $600 for that door. Something I would charge $3,000 for today. And I said, just pay me the $600 and I will do this door for you. But you have to give me two things. You have to let me market it. You can't say, oh, I don't want you to take pictures of this and tell everyone about it. Like, if I want to send someone here to look at the door, you have to be cool with that. And then the other thing is you need to be flexible on timeline. I'm going to take your door, and I've never done this before, so you got to give me some time. You have to let me know. You have to be aware that I can't tell you how long it will take. It might take a month, so just be prepared. But remember, you're saving thousands of dollars, and this is a win-win. So that's what I did, and that's what I've done my whole career. Nah, bro. So I think that idea of being able to sell something, especially in things that cost more, it's easier to sell. Like, it's easy to sell when you're the cheapest, right? Like, that doesn't take skill, or portfolio or much, usually. But when you want to sell the quote unquote perfect paint job, or a paint job of yes, see, was it Turner? Was it you that said topo? I found it. It's not my style. Sarah loves it. It's not my style, but I can appreciate why people might like it. It definitely, you feel fancier drinking it out of this bottle, I'll tell you that. I drink it much slower. So when you're trying to sell a very high quality paint job, which is going to mean it costs more money, the biggest thing is, I think you need to have body of work. You need to look the part. You need to act the part. You need to be the real deal. When you're asking for people to spend more money than your competitors, people are going to really scrutinize you. When you're the low price, people they purposely don't scrutinize you because they don't. It's cognitive dissonance, right? They don't want to find out something that they don't want to know because it's so enticing. Your price is so much lower than everybody else. They don't even want to do any homework on you because it might turn out that it would be a bad idea to hire you because they love to see that low price. So the opposite is true when you're the highest price. People are going to do more homework. It's going to be a more thorough vetting process. And in my experience, the only way you can do that, and even when you have the body of work, it's hard. So without the body of work, it's going to be really hard to sell a client on an upgrade. So I would say, take it on the chin. Don't do it if you're not going to build your company around it. Don't do it just for fun. Like, if you're not going to build a company that's trying to service those types of clients and do those types of work, which is what I've done. And my goal for years has been to build a company that services the ultra high end of the market. And so that's kind of what we're doing. So when I take a risk and I invest in providing a high quality product to my client and building my portfolio, it's so I can reap the benefits later. Like, there has to be a payoff at the end. If you just take these risks or you take these take it on the chin for these jobs without a big picture plan, I don't think it's going to go very well. So you have to want to be in that market. You have to be pushing in that direction. You have to have that market in your area. If you're in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, like you don't have the market to be able to sell the jobs that we sell because we have the market. So you have to have the market. You have to have the company and the skill set to get there. And then I think you have to just take it on the chin and upgrade some clients and get the portfolio. So that's huge. So Vince also said, how do you sell a full skim job after the taper's just finished and it's already perfect, quote unquote? Again, budget and expectations. Everything that I do, it comes down to budget and expectations. So when somebody says, what John Shearer always says, like, what does good look like? Good, when someone says, or what is the best? When someone says, what's the best X? Well, that needs to be prefaced with what are the parameters that we are judging this by? Because two completely different paint jobs can be the best depending on the client and the expectations, the budget and the expectations. So if the expectation is I need to have this job done in 2 days and I don't have a ton of money versus I have all the time in the world and I have all the money in the world, the best paint job for those two situations is completely different. So I think that you have to have a client that wants that not only wants but demands the finish that fully skimming out a project that has been quote unquote fully skimmed but doesn't look great would give you. If the client is happy with a paint job over the surfaces that have been done by the taper, and the client will pay and will glow about the project and loves it, then there's no reason to sell them on a full skim job. So I think that's the biggest piece is like you need to listen to the client, and I struggle with that for a long time. Now, again, if this is an opportunity where you might be able to put it into your portfolio to get to the next level, then maybe you do the full skim out of pocket and you sell them on like, I'm going to give you a better job. I know you don't necessarily want it, but I need the opportunity to get it in my portfolio. So I'll take it on the chin and I'll upgrade you. So that's one way. But if they don't want a perfect paint job, I think it's impossible to sell them one, or near impossible. So you have to. Sometimes the Instagram world. I mean, we all know it. Like we all know it factually, but I think sometimes we don't feel it. But the Instagram world can be is not reality. Most of what happens on Instagram is not a true depiction of reality. And just because you see me doing a gloss job the way we're doing it and what could be considered best practice, and we are following this obsessive 12-step process to get as close to perfection as we can, doesn't mean that that's what your client wants and that's what that you should be striving to do that. It really comes down to, I think that we're in business to make clients happy and to make money. So, those need to be the priority. And only if the client demands it or wants it are we going to try to achieve something that's perfect. So I think that I've talked about this before, but I think craftsmanship is doing the best with what you have and using your skill set to achieve the expectations of the client within the budget of the client. That's craftsmanship. So my client had the budget and wanted things done really nice. So we're using craftsmanship to get to our best practice is about aesthetics. Other clients may not have those. They may have a different set of parameters, and you still have to use just as much craftsmanship to figure out how to meet those budgets and expectations. But it may be more about what products and processes can we use that will be faster and still achieve an acceptable finish. I think that Instagram people can lose sight of that, especially the smaller guys. The bigger companies, they get it. for the most part, but it's really about making your client happy and giving them what they want, unless it's a means to an end for you to get a portfolio piece. And that's a different story. So let's see what John said. When a client says, I want it to be perfect, I say, how perfect? Then show them all the issues and see how big their budget is. They quickly back off of expectation. This is what we run into all the time. And I've gotten much better at articulating this. If you come to me and you tell me you want it perfect, look out. Like, we obsess on best practice. So I just had a new construction project. I should never have bid it. I don't know what I was thinking. I was wasting my time. But the GC came to me and they said, and it's one of the biggest GCs in Rhode Island. They do super high-end work, have amazing clients, great reputation. And I'm sure it's a big budget. It's probably a $10 million house. But they came to me and they said, the client wants it perfect. And I was like, oh yeah? Because I have a process for perfect. But for a whole house, a 12,000 square foot house with lots of trim, to be perfect, my perfect, it was a $550,000 bid or something crazy. I should never have. I don't even know why I wasted my time. But then I gave him good, better, best. But I have a best that's psychotic, and it is. I don't know of anyone who could give you a better paint job in the country than our best. There's guys who do the same level, but like there's not a level above us. So if you ask me, I want it perfect. I have an ability to give you a Rolls Royce perfect. But so if you ask another guy, if you go to a Toyota dealership and you say, give me your best, most expensive car, it's a very different car than the Rolls Royce's dealership's very most expensive car. So I think we have to go, well, what dealership are we in first, folks? And then let's talk about what is perfect. What does perfect look like to you? What is, as John says, what does good look like? Let's describe that. Hey, does this bother you? That's what, when I do repaints, we'll walk in and like, does this bother you over here? And I try to be nice and not pick out everything. It's like, see the chatter marks in the trim? Does that bother you? See how I can see where all the nail holes are in the trim? I can tell you where they put the nails in. Does that bother you? You see how like the imperfections here and there, blah blah blah. The wood graining. You know, how often do you see coffered ceiling with beams, and you can see the wood graining, and you can see where the joints meet, and blah 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 blah. That's the standard for high-end paint jobs. Even in my area, like that's just standard. No one is making every seam to every board go away, and no one is getting rid of all of the wood grain and making it perfect. So I have to ask the client, like, when you say you want it perfect, do you mean you want better than what you have here? Or are you happy with this? And like 9 times out of 10, if not 9.5 times out of 10, they're happy with what they have. But that's what it comes down to. Like all the time, I sold a couple of front doors this week to a client, and I said, you know, here's a price for our A, and here's a picture of our A door. It's a piece of art. It's perfect. And here's a price for B, and here's a B door, and it's beautiful. And they're like, yeah, I just don't think that our house and our front doors warrant an A, and neither does our budget. So, you know, it's so subjective when you talk about this stuff. And so when you see me doing this absurd process on a room, and you're like, well, how do I go sell this to a client? You know, these are $20,000, $25,000 rooms to paint. That's not an easy sell. It's taken me years and years and years of obsession to be able to sell this. And even on this job, like I think I've been open about this. Like I gave the client a significant price cut because I wanted this project. This was one of those. This is how I got here, and I'm doing it one last time. This is the last time. There's not a higher level than the level above this or this level, like that I'm aware of. So we will not be doing any more price increases to get portfolio pieces. But I did take a price cut on this project, but it came with I need to market this and I need the time. So that's why we have the place ourselves and we have a flexible timeline. And I get to have videographers in there. I've had multiple videographers in there. Tomorrow or Wednesday, Boston Design Guide will be back the second time for a progress photo shoot. But it's all a calculated thing. And I hopefully we should still break even on this project. It shouldn't be a complete loss. But you know, in the future, I would charge 30%, 40% more than what I charge on this project. But how often do you get an opportunity to paint 3 gloss full rooms in black on Beacon Hill for this level of client? You just don't. This is a very rare opportunity, and I'm so glad I did it. I can tell you right now, it's already going to pay off. It's no question. But that's the thing, is that you have to make calculated risks and gambles. So that sort of answers the question that Vince had too. What did it take and how did you sell that beautiful black gloss project? So it took hours on the phone with the client. It took sending samples, my portfolio of my stuff they could see on Instagram. She's probably looked at all of my Instagram stuff. There's a lot of discussions back and forth. We almost lost the job. And I, at the very last minute, I decided I wanted the job enough that I would give a big price break. And that I can fairly safely say that'll be the last time that we ever do that. But, I took $30,000 off the price at the last minute to get the job. That's an insane thing to do. But it is a calculated risk. Whether I should be saying all this stuff or not, I'm not really sure, but it's the truth. Also part of the deal was like, and we'll never do it again, so I don't have to really worry. But it was like, when you tell people how much you paid for this, like, make sure you tell them the price that I originally quoted you and not this massive deal I gave you. But when this project's done, and the videos and all this stuff that comes from it, and the content and the final, they're going to put a pool table in this room, and they're going to put black and white art all over this. And my paint job, the ceiling is going to be a black mirror. And it's going to lead to so much more work, because this is a very, very the highest echelon of people in Boston. And it's a small group, and we are designed to serve this type of client. And so I was willing to do something to get a chance to I took a pay cut to get a chance to take some swings in the majors, because I knew I'd hit a home run. But you have to be able to hit the home run when you get to the majors for it to ever make any sense. Yeah, don't tell anyone what you paid. It's just like, because even if you did, the next person that comes to me, it's like I did that one time. You can see, because I hadn't done this scale. I did a wine room gloss, but I had not done this scale, and not for this level of client. So now it's like, hey, I've done it. I'm the real deal. I can't afford to take this hit again. I'm a proven entity. The money is well spent with our company. I'm certain of it. But it's crazy stuff. It's crazy stuff. If we weren't prepared to execute on this project, it would have been the biggest waste of my time and money in the history of the world. Because of the opportunity cost as well. So if we dropped the ball on this project, it could have been devastating. So John said the same thing. So even on a small scale, we get an exterior in a neighborhood where we know 10 more houses need to do it, we'll price break just to be seen. Yeah, and that's the art of running a business, right? It's playing up here with things. And that's where, I reduced the price on that project, but with a bunch of concessions. I reduced the price and they gave me stuff, right? I didn't just reduce the price. I think that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is we'll never move our prices for nothing. I will move my prices for certain concessions and things from the client, because now we're talking about, it's a different situation. But my prices come from someplace. And so if they're going to move, it needs to be because of something. Either we cut scope, we cut timeline. Oh, you want to do this in the winter and you're going to give me any time in the next year to complete this project? I can generally take 10% off to book one of those. Now, I can't do that all the time, but if you're going to say I have an entire year to get this project done, it's an interior, and I can call you on 4 days notice and do 3 weeks worth of work. Okay, that's worth it to me to take 10% off and put that in my back pocket and fill in work with it. We haven't done that in a long time, but that's a situation where now when you reduce your price, you're not just reducing your price. There's a give and take. And I think that's very important. Send me a DM, Drywall. If you want to come work for us, send me a DM, and we can talk, because we are looking to hire. All right, so Vince, I hope that answers your questions. I think it did. So Chosen David H asks, how were you able to maintain the quality while growing your company with new hires? Oh, man. Hold on to your seats, folks. Let me take a drink. Boy, I'm long-winded, aren't I? All right. My wife's smiling at me. So this is probably the most difficult part of growing a company. I think most companies will say that, especially doing with what we do. There are very few companies in the country that can achieve the level of finish that we do at any type of scale. And most craftspeople will tell you that scaling is the hardest part of high quality work. Because generally, as you add people, the overall quality level tends to go down. It takes a lot. It takes a perfect storm, if you will, a situation to facilitate greatness, to continue to add people and not have things get diluted, quality-wise. So I will. It's like super cliche and like so like tech whatever, but I would say the number one answer to that question is how do we keep quality high when we add new people is strong company culture. 5 years ago, that term would have made me want to puke. Like, oh, company culture? Like, shut up. It's so soft and stupid. Like, just get the work done. I understand that mentality. That's where I came from. Of the concept of company culture just seems so soft and like, I don't know, not real. It didn't get company culture's not going to get any freaking painting done. What are we talking about? The truth of the matter is, company culture is insanely important. I can't imagine. Company culture is and core values of the company is how people make decisions when I'm not around and when no one's looking, right? It's one thing for someone to do great work when I'm standing over their shoulder watching them do it, right? Like, you can pretty well ensure quality if you are in the room with your employees and you're painting the whole day, right? That can be hard enough, but quality is going to stay there when the owner of the company is in the room painting all day long with the other painters. How do you now? But when the owner of the company walks away, if you have been getting people to comply with a whip rather than a carrot, what happens when the whip goes away? And I'm no longer there to be like, hey, what the heck, man? This is like, what do you do when no one's looking? But the carrot keeps people doing things for the right reasons. It's kind of a bad analogy. That one sucks. But just that idea of what are people doing when no one's looking? That's what company culture is to me. Company culture determines what are people doing when no one's looking. And if you've built a strong company culture, anyone that comes in that doesn't fit that gets like pushed, and the company and the people in it push that person away, and they leave on their own, or they leave very quickly. It's brought to my attention, and they leave very quickly. So I think having a core value of quality and constant improvement, and practicing what we preach. So I don't just like say like on Instagram to all you guys, like all we care about is quality. We are just a quality driven company. We really believe in quality. And then when I go to the job site and the camera's on, like, dude, hurry up. Who cares? I know it needs to be prime, but who cares? Just freaking paint it. No one's going to see that. I'm going to take a picture from across the room, and no one's going to see that nail hole isn't even actually filled. Like, don't worry about it. I don't do that. I don't ever do that, right? So I've been consistently beating the drum of quality in my company for years. And now everybody else beats to the same drum. And if you don't like that drum beat, you leave. And to me, that's the only sustainable way or I would say that's the most important of the sustainable ways to keep quality high. I think internal quality controls are very important. Process and what does Nick Slavic have? The protocols, the checklists, like the company best practices. There's a term. It's on the top of my tongue. I can't think of it. But those are important too. But I think it's just very important that the company has a clear culture of craftsmanship. Standard operating procedures. Thank you, Shane. That's what we're talking about. Like, SOPs are huge. Like, if I come up and say, well, one day we paint cabinets like this, and then the next day we paint cabinets like this, and it's all over the place all the time, how can anybody know what to do in the situation? That requires tons of micromanaging. They asked me this week in the interviews, like, how do you do this without micromanaging? And it's like, well, micromanaging is just not a sustainable way to get anything done. I think so. So how did I get this? I don't micromanage, right? If I was micromanaging my company, it would be so much harder to keep quality the way it is, because the second I wasn't there, they don't know how to make decisions by themselves. I empower my people. I work really hard to empower my people to make those decisions, because they know our core values and they know what we stand for. Somebody said, B Palms said, the way your crew left the project for the weekend is truly impressive. All right. How cool is that, right? I showed up on Saturday. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't tell anybody, hey, make sure you clean up the job site real nice at the end of the day, right? I didn't go, did you do it? Show me a picture of it. Like, no. But for everybody knows, like, Phil has been on plenty of my projects from the time he started, and he knows at the end of every day, and at the end of, like, I always tell him, like, we're putting on a show here as much as we are working. And so part of putting on a show is, how do we leave the job site when we're not here? Because, excuse me, Johnny Hurahan from Vintage Builders talks about this a lot too. It's like, the client's going to come to the job site in the evenings, right? And on the weekends to see what's going on. And if they see a messy job site, it's going to affect the way they perceive the paint job later, the exact same paint job. So I didn't instill it in Phil. I just gave Phil license to take the time to clean the job site up at the end of a job, early on, from the first time he started working with me. I just said, hey, I didn't say go do it. I was like, I encouraged him to, and we all wanted to do this. Like, I think anyone who cares about their craft wants to leave behind a beautiful job site at the end of the night and on the weekends. But if I didn't give him the budget hours, we don't have those really, but if I didn't empower him and say, take the time to make this job site look nice a long time ago, and just said, well, on this one, then I would have had to remember to tell him on this one, blah, 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 blah. But instead, once or twice, when he first started working for me, I was like, we should make this look like a showpiece, show off, make this place look mint. So when they come in, they're like, oh, these people are professional. He wants to. Anyone who's proud of what they do wants to do that anyway. But many companies and many people are afraid to do it because they're afraid that it's going to take away from production, and their boss is going to be like, why the heck didn't you get enough done today? Well, I spent 30 minutes cleaning up the job site. But that is important to us. So B Palms, I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot. I was so proud. When I walked onto that job site, I couldn't have been more proud of my team and what ZK Painting stands for, and that we're doing this thing. Without me saying a word, that job site, it was like staged, but in the proper way. Like, it was like, these are professionals, and they don't just like drop everything at 4:00 and walk off a job site. They stop at 3:30. They clean everything up. They sharpen their axe, in my favorite analogy of cutting trees. They stop to sharpen the axe. They don't just cut trees all the time. Let's see. I missed a bunch. when you go scroll up, it stops keeping track. Oh yeah, so John makes a good point. So culture, he said, culture, this is what we do, and here's why we do it. Here's why we do it. That is what I learned from all these tech startups and the tech world and the millennial. That's what millennials. I mean, I'm the beginning of the beginning of the millennials. That's what I don't even know. People say that's what the millennials want. I think that's what people want, but the millennials have actually they can articulate that that's what they wanted. I think every human being for all of time has wanted to know why they're doing what they're doing. But for most of the time, it was just like, just go freaking do it. And no one was going to tell you why. Just go do it. You know, it was this very tough mentality that I grew up in working for people. I would argue that every human wants to know why they're doing what they're doing and feel good about it. Many generations just didn't have the luxury to prioritize that. But yes, a big part of my job in company culture is here's why we're doing what we're doing. Not just the what. So my favorite teacher in school, my AP Bio teacher, talked about learning the fundamentals, studying fundamentals and not studying facts. Because the AP test you couldn't exactly study for every aspect of it. You had to sort of learn these core principles so that you were best prepared. And that idea of studying the fundamentals and the core principles behind things is far more effective than studying the facts, right? Because the second the facts are slightly different, you don't have a clue how to arrive at the answer. If you've been memorizing, this is the way we do it. Well, what happens if one variable changes? There's no flexibility of decision making. But if you've been training core principles and here's why we do what we're doing, now people can start to, and you hire intelligent people, now people can start to use creative thinking to solve problems. So I think it is very valuable every time I've ever talked about, we're going to do this. It's just second nature to me. It's like, we're going to do this and here's why. You know, I want you to think about, understand that this is the blah, 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 right? There's context. If you tell someone go do something, it's far less likely they'll do it again like that later if you're not there to tell them than if you were to tell them go do something and why. So I think it helps to not have to micromanage. The student becomes the teacher. Yeah, but I love to learn. Okay, we have two. I'm stopping all of these with 2 minutes. The second he gives me that warning, I'm stopping it because it's cut it off before. So I'm going to end this one, and we'll come back. We'll answer a few more questions, and unless we have more, I mean, who knows? I might go another hour. I just start talking, but I'm going to sign off and sign right back.